would be sitting up here, I would be in a position where I had a final finality as far as the surgery was concerned, but I don't. Dr. Alchek, who's performing the surgery, was scheduled to start the surgery at 2 o'clock. It's a pretty quick 45-minute type surgery, they told me. However, Dr. Alchek's schedule has run a little late. So he is undergoing the Tommy John surgery right now. The trainer, Brad, could walk in here at any time and give me the ultimate results. Same, or if not for me, then he'll give it to John Farrell, and John will have it later on. We don't anticipate anything unusual with the surgery, but usually like to wait to just make sure that everything went fine. So surgery's being performed. I can give you a little bit of a time frame, only because even from our own situations, we were caught a little bit by surprise Friday later in the day. We did not anticipate this scenario. As you know, we had an MRI taken in spring training in March. We had the flexor involved at that point. Carson came back, he was feeling good. When he came back, we pitched him back-to-back days. Then had some complaints, some pain, a little bit when he came back here, probably after the one game more so, which was the Oakland game, I believe it was, the last day he pitched. We tried to be very careful with him. Figured we'd end up being in a position we would have the MRI taken again, which we did on Friday. We weren't really anticipating a great deal. But after batting practice, I went up there, saw the doctors, and that's when we had the MRI and really discovered that it looked like there was a tear at that point. I'm not very good at looking at those type of things. I've been looking at them for a long time, and the doctor tells me, Dave, see this? And I shake my head and say yes, and I really don't see anything. But I will say that I admit that even in that MRIs, I could see the difference between the ones taken in March and the ones taken in on Friday. I couldn't tell you what it meant, but I could tell that there was a significant difference. So it was unfortunate. Our doctors felt there was a tear at that point. We needed to make sure, though, that it would be confirmed, which we sent the MRIs to Dr. Alchek. Dr. Alchek felt that the same thing existed, and when he saw Carson yesterday, he felt that questionably he needed to have the Tommy John surgery. If he has a surgery, you're usually talking 11 to 14 months. Normally with a reliever, we just generalize and say a year. So he would, of course, miss the rest of the season and look towards coming back about the same time next year.